are now live here on Rover Sports and Doc. We're going to get into the feed here, and I hope you guys can hear me here. Kind of holding this up like a harmonica. We got Bruce the Sports Doc. We are live on your Facebook page. We are also live on YouTube as well, Bruce. And what a day in NFL free agency today.
Absolutely. This is the beginning of the tampering period, legal tampering period. And there's a lot of interesting things, beginning with DeAndre Hopkins being traded for a bag of donuts to the Arizona Cardinals. Very surprising deal. It certainly portends a rift between Bill O'Brien and the wide receiver. And I think that's a big splash of the day. Your thoughts?
Yeah, my thoughts on does this it actually sounds perfect.
Yes,
right?
yes, yep.
And you guys can all hear me. My thoughts on DeAndre Hopkins going to it's complete and total incompetency by Bill O'Brien. You give away the best wide receiver in the game. You can't even get a first round pick back. And it's pretty unbelievable, Bruce, that this has transpired, And I think that DeAndre Hopkins going to the Arizona Cardinals is really exciting for Cardinals football. I think it's going to be great for them. And David Johnson, he's a Northern Iowa guy, but he's been hurt a couple of years. And what was the urgency to trade the guy? He's the best receiver in the game. You couldn't pay him enough money. He is the best receiver in football, one of the most talented players ever at that position. He might even be a Hall of Fame player. He's on track to be. And also if you're Houston, you're not exactly rebuilding. You gave away 2 first-round picks for Laramie Tunsil. It just seems like it's a complete dumpster fire there.
I totally agree. And when Hopkins left, he was very pointed in his criticism, I believe, of the ownership and the coach. He thanked the city of Houston. He thanked all the fans. He thanked his teammates, and that was it. It was quiet. And the silence was he didn't thank his coach, and he didn't thank the ownership. And to me, this is analogous to Jimmy Butler. When Jimmy Butler left, it was real quiet. But the fact is, you knew he didn't get along with the coach. You knew Butler didn't get along with ownership. He was an outspoken guy, and he just let him go to Miami. This is basically David Johnson 3 years ago, would have been a reasonable trade. But the fact that you just let him go, you let DeAndre Hopkins go, you're really letting down your quarterback. And I think it's certainly great for Kyler Murray to have who I think is a top 3 wide receiver in the league. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know if this equates to victories because I still think the 49ers, even though they traded DeForest Buckner today, and I think that there's a high likelihood that Derek Brown, the 49ers, are going to try to move up and get either Brown or Davidson, 2 guys on that Auburn defensive line in the draft, one of those 2 guys. I think that even though you have Hopkins, you have Kyler Murray, and then you have a guy in Kenyon Drake who had like one really good year, I don't know if that's going to lead to playoffs. And the thing about Hopkins is that he's going to be with Murray through his rookie deal. So when you're in the rookie deal, that's often the time to spend money. And I think for Cliff Kingsbury, you're really going to see how he is as a head coach because you have Isabella, who's going to get better. You still have Larry Fitzgerald, who's still producing unbelievably. And I think Larry will love to play with Nuke Hopkins. So I think that if you're Cardinals fans, Steve Keim, all the anger of trading Josh Rosen. Remember last year, they drafted Josh Rosen, pretty much wasted a top 10 pick. All of the anger towards Steve Keim should all be saved today. And also, the thing is that the Texans needed to send Hopkins to a place where he had enough money to be re-signed for long term. But I don't understand how the Texans couldn't go after Bruce like a Cooper. Like they couldn't trade for Amari Cooper, or they couldn't trade for, let's just say, like an AJ Brown, like a really talented wide receiver. Or how about this? The number 8 pick in this draft, Bruce, you know how good the receivers are in this draft. You have Jerry Jeudy from Alabama. Where's the Jewish?
You got all the LSU guys, tremendous LSU
Jefferson.
wide receivers.
How about CeeDee Lamb at least if you get you should have gotten a CD Lamb.
So this is my thought. Either A, Houston was careless and just want to unload them. And we've seen that before where they're just ill-prepared and they just unload them. That's possible. Or B, for some reason, Hopkins, it's possible that around the league, he's not as well thought of as we think of as fans. And I just don't know why. So it's perplexing to me how Houston just unloaded him to the Cardinals, and the Cardinals got rid of David Johnson in a second-round pick. So that's perplexing to me. You want to thank everybody's on here. We are Rover Sports. I'm Sports Talk with Spencer G. Got Jeff Weigel from Toronto, and he's a big Skins fan, and he wishes us safety. And so far, everything's good. You know, we're working here in the bunker with we call this Corona Monday, in the sense that today was the first day when everything was shut down here in Philadelphia for the East Coast, New York, pretty much across the country. And we're dealing with a new paradigm.
Yeah.
We are not going to be in studio until further notice because of the idea of just meeting and sharing microphones and we don't want to pull a Rudy Gobert and infect microphones or be infected ourselves. But you know what? Yeah. This is the first day we've had something to talk about in sports because everything's been shut down. And we appreciate everybody logging in and putting your comments in. Connor Burke saying Ravens, baby. And Jeff Weigel says Skins might finally have a good QB. Tell us about the Skins.
I want to talk about the Skins, but also I want to give a shout out to give a shout out to G-Men 409. My friend Justin, Little Yankee King, is in here. Bosco Gamer, Top Streams, who's a Bills fan, and a lot of people want to get to the Giants. So we'll do Bradberry.
Yeah, let's do Bradberry.
Signed. I think Bradberry is not going to wow you with his physical tools. Guy's a second-round pick. He had a really rough first couple of years in the NFL. Now, last year he did perform better. Guy is 6'1", and Dave Gettleman, I mean, he drafted the guy. So pretty much the Giants cornerback coach is a guy named Henderson, and he was the secondary coach in Atlanta. So he's well aware of Bradberry's work because Atlanta and Carolina are bitter rivals. I would say that from talking to a couple of Panthers fans that they think that the guy is average or just above average. Like they're not dying that he's leaving, but they at least told me that even though
he's
guy
reasonable,
gets burned, they say that he they say mid-level passes, the guy is good at defense. His speed, he's not good. He could get burned over the top, but they said that he's a solid corner and he can also cover in the slot, but he's a primary outside corner. He's going to be a fine corner. He's not going to suck. And the thing is, Tremaine Johnson for the Jets paid $16 million. He sucked. Janoris Jenkins was toast towards the end of his deal. He made $13 million.
How much did this guy make?
This guy's making 15. And even the nose tackle that went to the Eagles, who's like a 33-year-old guy, Hargraves. First of all, the Giants are only paying this guy for 3 years. So it's $15 million for 3 years. Byron Jones is $18 million for 5 years, which is $82 million compared to $45 million. Also, the Giants are only guaranteeing this guy $32 million. So this guy, it's like a prove-it deal. It's only a 3-year deal, and this is probably the second best cornerback on the market. And now you have DeAndre Baker, Sam Beal. It just makes the defensive secondary seem more reputable. I like it. I really want Jadeveon Clowney. That's the news that would get me fired up. I think that this is a decent move for the Giants. And getting Williams, too, is a franchise, but
yep.
Go ahead, yeah.
Thanks. So a lot of Eagles fans like it on the Bruce Krosker Facebook, Rover Sports, Twitter, Instagram, everything. We are here in the bunker, here in Philly land. And for all you Philly Eagles fans, one thing that didn't happen today is we didn't sign Byron Jones. We didn't sign a corner. That's what we needed. When I say we, I'm talking here in Philly. And we've got our Giants man to the right of me here, or the left on your screen. But we did sign a guy named Javon Hargrave, who didn't know a lot about, even though he does play in the division. What I learned is he's 33 years old. He's 6'2", 305 pounds. And I understand he's an every down guy. He's not a bad pass rusher. That's one thing the Eagles have not had is they've had an injury. They've had depleted defensive tackles. And this portends the end of Tim Jernigan, who also came from the Redskins. And here's a guy who was injured the whole time and was a disappointment. So Tim Jurgen is going to be gone. I hear Vinny Curry, I think, has already been signed. Vinny Curry was not good the first time around. He couldn't rush the passer, and it was curious why they signed him last year, but he will be gone. Also looking at other free agents here, it looks like Ronald Darby will be gone. Jalen Mills is rumored to go to the Lions, and the Lions also picked up one of our backup linemen, a guy named Halavalatu Vaitai.
Jalapeno Vaitai.
Otherwise known as Big V Vaitai.
No. We are not pronouncing it right. It's Jalapeno Vaitai.
Exactly right.
Repeat that.
No, I'll let you do
Jalapeno
Vaitai. I'll do the Vaitai part.
Right.
So this guy was a fill-in offensive lineman, guard/tackle. So his best thing is he could play either position. The worst is he doesn't play either well. The Lions paid I think $50 million for 4 years, grossly overpaying him. And bye, Big V. You're gone. You're gone.
Completely. You don't know what the guy can be. If you get he could be a star in this league. The guy is 6'9". Okay, he has
that's a different guy.
Tools.
That's Jordan Mailata. Vaitai is not 6'9". Oh, sorry, you got the wrong guy.
I was thinking of Mailata, I think.
Yeah, you got the wrong guy.
What about Vaitai?
He's about 6'5". He's a guarded tackle. He basically filled in. He did play in the Super Bowl, though. So he's one of the two.
This guy 6'9".
No, that's Jordan Mailata. That's a different guy.
So he's making $10 million. That's not a lot.
Hargrave is 27.
That's not a lot.
By the way,
that's not a lot for an offensive tackle.
So Hargrave. That's
not a lot of money.
By the way, Hargrave is 27, not 33.
How about Jack Conklin? I got to give credit to Andrew Berry. Andrew Berry is the new general manager of the Cleveland Browns. He actually worked in the Eagles front office. The Browns have been making some really good moves. Austin Hooper signed for the Browns. He's a solid tight end. And then they get the best tackle off the draft class. They sign Jack Conklin to a 3-year, $42 million deal, $20 million coming in his first year. Point is that for Conklin, who I think is a good right tackle or left tackle, you're only paying him, what's 3 divided by 42? That can't be that much. It's no, it's like 13 million, I would think.
Yeah, close. 13 plus. 13 plus. 3. Not bad for a starting tackle.
Yeah, but it's 20 million.
Is he a right or left tackle? That's kind of important.
Nate Solder got paid 16 million, and he is awful.
That was a bad signing. I think all the Giants fans will agree to that.
The guard for the Raiders, who is very good, is getting paid 17 million. I think for Conklin, this is very affordable. And for the Browns, they needed this. I think the Browns are actually making savvy, good moves.
Mariota goes to the desert to be with John Gruden. I think that will be quite interesting. Although you have two guys who notably have kind of weak arms, so you really have a double trouble there with D-Car.
Nate Peterman,
the interception machine from Buffalo.
Gruden has he has a real attraction to quarterbacks with really weak arms that could really play.
You know what's great, though? The good news is they're going to play great indoors in Vegas at that new really cool-looking stadium. You know the bad news?
Don't be indoors. Play it outside. It's so nice.
Have you seen the stadium? No, it's an indoor stadium. Have you seen it?
I haven't.
It looks like a Darth Vader helmet. It's a very cool stadium out in Vegas. But the problem is, what's the problem going to be? And it's when they come east in December, and you got either Derek Carr, you got Mariota, and things are not going to look good in the cold weather.
Now, let me ask you this question. Are Derek Carr's days numbered? I'll ask you that first question.
I believe so. I believe that Derek Carr, they wouldn't have signed Mariota, and I think to a fairly substantial deal. I think Derek Carr is just a very mediocre to bad quarterback. He's got a weak arm. He plays poorly in November, December, 2 kind of important months. He's great in the beginning of the year. He's a really interesting guy. He's going to be a future sportscaster, just like his brother David Carr. Right. And one of the best interviews. But I just think he's an underperforming quarterback, and I think Gruden is grooming his heir apparent in Marcus Mariota, the flying Hawaiian.
I like Marcus Mariota a lot. I think that you got 2 of the nicest guys in the league. They're really going to vibe together. I'm not sure that Derek could possibly be traded now because you have Marcus Mariota, And if Oakland really loves, you know what really could be an incredible move just thinking about this? I believe, imagine this pairing in Oakland. What quarterback that is still available, it happens to be from Oregon and happens to love Marcus Mariota and look up to Mariota?
Young guy or older guy?
Young guy, not even in the league yet.
Okay, definitely Herbert. You're talking about Herbert.
Yes. Could you imagine if Oakland pairs the Ducks together? They pair Herbert and Mariota together.
That'd be interesting. I'm just not sure though. They'd have to trade Derek Carr, obviously, to be able to afford that. Don't you agree?
I think that there will definitely be suitors for Carr. I mean, the Bears were interested today. The Redskins with Ron Rivera, whoever the Redskins are playing at quarterback.
I think Carr is well respected.
Shock everybody. Derek Carr is going to compete for.
I'm not sure. We should ask Weagle here. Jeffrey, our Toronto man, would you be happy? Haskins, it might be a failed situation, might be a Josh Rosen situation. If they trade for Derek Carr, then I think that portends a backup role for Haskins, and I think it's acknowledgement that he was overdrafted. What do you think?
Yeah. If they trade Haskins, that would signal just an impulsive decision. But you look, Bruce, at the number 15 pick in the first round, and a lot of those guys are flameouts when you look at it, because Haskins, he fell all the way to the middle of the first round. Like, there's guys in the top 10 who are terrible. There's guys that are drafted in the top 5, like Solomon Thomas, that are just not very good. Or how about Maurice Claiborne, drafted number 6? How about EJ Manuel? He was drafted number 15. The Bills moved on from him quickly. So he's a mid-first round pick, Haskins, kind of like Josh Rosen was. You have Tua Tagovailoa sitting there. I think that it is absolutely a possibility when you have this good of a quarterback class. A lot of Giants fans are very upset about
we have some questions.
The Bradberry acquisition.
So we have some questions here. We have firstly Lisa from Reddit. We always think she is the best questioner. There's 2 quarterbacks. We want to know where they're going to ultimately land. One is Phillip Rivers. Where is Phillip Rivers predicted to land?
Indianapolis Colts. That's the heavy favorite right now.
I think Indy Colts. I think that's a good choice for him. He's a 38-year-old guy. He's moving to the Midwest, primarily an indoor stadium, which I think will favor him as far as being a bit older and also keeping him healthy, not having to deal as much with the elements, although he's going to a pretty tough division. And Tom Brady, it seems to me that all the tea leaves are pointing to his returning to New England at this point. I can imagine him going for a 2-year deal for maybe just north of $20 million, maybe $22 million for 2 years. Comments, please, Rovers. What do you say about Brady?
I think that Brady could be going to the Bucks. I think that the Raiders could be going, or excuse me, Tom Brady. I think he'll be in New England, but I think the Bucks are a close second. Jameis Winston could very well go back to Tampa Bay. Bruce Arians. So if the Bucks don't get Jameis, or if the Bucks don't get Tom Brady, I could see the Buccaneers coming back with famous again.
And what I can imagine is the Bucks, firstly, they're not really sold on Jameis long term. I could see them trying to perhaps draft a Herbert or somebody like that. I think they need somebody to come up and push them. And I believe it'll be one of the quarterbacks. Some of the other guys, there's a guy I love who I think we're pretty neutral towards.
Yeah.
They're not going to get Tua. They're obviously the first round pick is going to the Bengals, but Herbert is kind of a wild card.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he could do well there in Tampa.
Yeah, I agree with you. A lot of people are upset about the Bradberry pick. I just have to try to console some Giants fans. I mean, if you weren't getting Byron Jones, and by the way, Byron Jones, you spent 18.
He got overpaid
for 5 years. I don't know if it's an overpay. I think he's a good player, but I think that Bradberry is one of the good cornerbacks that you could acquire. And now the Giants won't be dealing with any cornerbacks. I think that the secondary is going to be good with Peppers and Julian Love there.
And there we've got Octavius TX made. He is a Titans fan, and he's laughing at the Texas fans. And I think most people are scratching their head looking at the Texans unloading DeAndre Hopkins, one of the true greats in the league, who doesn't have any off the field problems that I know of, and I just don't know. I think Bill O'Brien is a starchy character, and I think those guys just didn't get along. That's the only explanation I have. What do you think, Spence?
You know what? And G-Men 409 helping out the live stream, he says that even though I can hear myself on my microphone, he's saying that I am sounding low with this mic. So I'm gonna get the blue mic. I'm gonna substitute here. And
really, you're sounding low.
I
can hear you.
Talk about Jadeveon Clowney because that's who I want to talk about.
Well, Clowney is a guy who's purported to go to, you named it, the New York Giants. I think they really need a pass rush. The thing about Byron Jones, why the Giants fans shouldn't feel bad, is he has very few turnovers. He's a solid outside corner, but very few interceptions. I think he had 2 interceptions in the last 2 years. The one thing the Giants need is turnovers. They need to force turnovers. Clowney would fit the bill in that respect, but I believe that, as usual, the Miami Dolphins, they're not good with personnel. I think they overpaid for Byron Jones. Here in Eagles land, everybody, including Joe Banner, former general manager, everybody's predicting Byron Jones to come here to the Eagles. A lot of people are upset that he's not, and you're stuck with the bridesmaid in Javon Hargrave, who is a defensive tackle. You don't get too excited about that. The Eagles are still really short. Looking at their free agent list here for the Eagles, I think almost all these people are going to be gone. Ronald Darby, gone. Jalen Mills, gone. Jason Peters is just an older guy who's a true Hall of Famer, will be gone. Nigel Bradham is already gone. The 2 quarterbacks, gone. Nelson Aguilar will be cut. One guy who has a contract that will be gone is Alshon Jeffrey, because it's no secret.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Bruce?
I can hear you.
You can hear me. You can hear me with the headphone.
I actually thought the other microphone was better. So, but whatever.
But
I think your one guy who's listening.
Better.
No offense.
No, this is better.
He's not okay.
This is better.
All right. So in any event, I'm going through the list. Jordan Howard will be re-signed as a running back, but look at all the fat they're cutting. So the Eagles already have $45 million to play with.
Right.
They got rid of Vitae.
Right.
They're going to take a big cap hit when they lose Alshon Jeffrey. Here's a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Alshon,
go ahead.
You've seen him play a lot.
Yeah.
He's obviously burned his bridges here in Philly. How would he look in a Giants uniform?
Don't want him anywhere near a Giants uniform, Bruce, because like you alluded to, this is a guy that has absolutely burned his bridges in Philadelphia, and actually this mic it's picking up a lot better.
Okay, good.
Just
Great.
on the tech. But I would love Alshon to stay in Philly for a long time.
He's not going to.
I'm also happy. I'm also happy that you guys couldn't get Byron Jones because he is a really good corner. So now you guys are kind of
we're stuck on.
You
corner.
guys
You're
missed
right.
one. Amari Cooper.
You're right.
You were looking at Amari Cooper. You didn't get Amari Cooper. You were looking at Byron Jones. You didn't get Byron Jones. Now, Stefon Diggs said on his social media site, which is always full of drama, that Stefon Diggs might be a Philadelphia Eagle. And Stefon is from Maryland. He's killed the Eagles. He's a very explosive wide receiver. I think that he is in the mold of a Deshaun Jackson, where he's fast. He's a flashy player. And I think that this town will really like Diggs, his personality. You definitely know about Stefon Diggs.
I think he's a good name.
I can see the Eagles, especially since the Eagles missed out on Cooper. I definitely see Philly as the front runner for a trade for Stefon Diggs.
I agree. And certainly Deshaun Jackson is older. He's been hurt. Last year, he had a sports hernia. The Eagles medical team totally botched it. He should have had surgery the preseason. They basically watched him, and then he got hit. He was out for 8 games. He took 1 hit and was out for the year. Complete waste last year. So I think the Eagles are going to be hedging their bets. And another speed wide receiver, Stefon Diggs, would certainly fit the bill.
Yep. And now we could start to pick out this draft a little bit, Bruce. So number 1, we have Joe Burrow. Redskins probably Chase Young.
Yep.
The Lions, they could go with a cornerback in Jeff Okudah. They also signed Jamie Collins. So they signed the Lions have been very active, and they are very active.
They just signed Big V. They're supposed to be signing Jalen Mills, who is a slow wide receiver who got burnt last year and really took a step back, has been injured on and off the last few years. The question is,
yes,
and this is from Eagles fans, Jalen Mills is known for dyeing his hair green for the last 3 years.
Mhm.
Will he retain the green hair if he goes to the Lions?
I doubt it, but maybe it's still possible.
Maybe it will be silver hair. Or
yeah.
What are the team? Maybe some kind of blue hair.
Blue
hair. Okay,
but
that's a very important sports
that is
discussion.
the question that everybody
it's on everybody's mind. I think it's just
the
percolating
question
through the league.
It absolutely is. Davis Webb, how about that one? Davis Webb, we got to see where he ends up on this
Pass
open
the water,
market.
please. One of those big waters.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, we got to clarify.
Yes, we got to clarify.
Here's the thing about the Eagles. I would say had a disappointing free agent. Well, you didn't get a lot.
They had one
of
bad day. They had one bad day.
I hope Jadeveon Clowney is a Giant. That would be the dream free agent. I think he's the biggest one left on the free agency list. Dak Prescott today got franchise tagged, so that means that Dak Prescott could possibly be traded. Or is he going to sign a long-term deal with the Dallas Cowboys? Are they just
he was offered a great deal?
Amari Cooper?
I don't know why he didn't take the deal that was offered to him. That was a great deal. Once you franchise tag a guy, especially a quarterback, that's usually a sign of a rift in the organization.
Real disrespect.
You remember how that happened to the Redskins
mm-hmm.
with their quarterback who went to
Kirk Cousins.
When that happens, you're really in disarray. So I don't mind seeing the Cowboys in disarray. I know there's some listeners, Gary Dion's out there, Ted Torlitas, some Cowboys fans, and some actual Cowboys players who are on the pod today. But being here at Philly and also having a Giants aficionado next to me, we would not be that sad to see the Cowboys in disarray. Nor would Jeff Weigel, who is, of course, a big Redskins fan living in Toronto, Canada, up north.
Yeah, and another topic that I wanted to bring up, Bruce, and this
Let's
kind of an argument that I wanted to talk to you about. My theory is I would sign Mitchell Trubisky to a long-term deal if I were the Chicago Bears.
So you're a Trubisky guy.
I'm a Trubisky guy because Ryan Tannehill just made $30 million per year. What is that? $130, and he had one good season. So if you had to pay Mitchell Trubisky last year, remember Trubisky won the NFC North Championship. He had a very good reputation. He was even an MVP candidate before this year began. Jared Goff's making $33 million. If Trubisky has 1 year where he's like Jimmy Garoppolo or Jared Goff good, if he has a tremendous year, then you're going to have to pay him north of $30 million. So you would sign him now. So what you need to do is you need to buy low. That's what the guys on Shark Tank would tell you. You buy in an investment low, and Trubisky couldn't be any lower right now. So you look at the best teams; they always have the most quarterback-friendly deals. Yep. You sign Mitchell Trubisky.
Even the Eagles have a good deal for Wentz. At the time, it's much less than if you let him go for another year.
I don't think they have a good deal for Wentz. You're paying him $35 million a year.
Well, some people think he's that guy. Last year, he came back from injury. He played almost the whole season.
Yeah.
And I think that they feel that they signed him long-term.
I think he's top 3 in terms of money in the league.
And he's top 5 in terms of potential. He didn't meet his potential last year.
But it's not a good it's not a good deal. I mean, it's not like a good, by league standards. I don't think it's cheap. You're paying.
I'd say it's medium. I'll call it medium.
You think that it's a medium deal? He's top 3.
Okay. What I'm saying is, I believe that as the quarterback signed with the new collective bargaining agreement, there'll be more money.
Right.
And if we look at this deal in 3, 4, 5 years,
right,
it will be a good deal. So the question is,
possibly. That's why Trubisky. Trubisky should be signed.
By the way, Bears fans really soured on Trubisky. They thought that they had a very mediocre sideways year. I want the actual Bears fans to weigh in. I'm not a big Trubisky fan at any price, but we differ in that respect.
Yeah. Are you a Teddy Bridgewater fan?
Not really. I believe he had a terrible knee injury, and even though he was healthy last year, Bridgewater had a horrific knee injury. He's like a Sam Bradford right now. He's one major hit against away from retiring. He's a backup player. You'll see no franchise putting themselves in Bridgewater's hands. You just won't see that.
I actually do see Bridgewater signing with maybe the Bucks or a big level franchise.
As a leading
I differ
role,
there.
Leading role?
I think he's a decent quarterback.
Okay.
I think he's capable of starting.
All
I
right.
think that he looked really good on the Saints last year, but I still like Trubisky more than Teddy Bridgewater. So if you're the Bears, then what are you doing? What's your proposal?
My feeling is I would wait. This would be a show me year for Trubisky, and I might draft a quarterback, second to fourth round.
Okay.
Just somebody. I might just hedge my bets, but I wouldn't throw the money in him right now. I don't know what the fans with the Rovers think out there.
Okay. I think you'll then have to pay him a huge deal after next year, because I'm a Trubisky
Potentially.
believer, and we could look back on this. And if Trubisky bombs out though in this league, then I will congratulate you.
We have some questions from the Giants fans, and many of them here. They want to know a lot about Joe Judge. They want to know about Gittleman. They want to know about what's the makeup of this team. How will this be different? So let's talk about the coaching. Let's talk about the personnel. Will this Giants team, they've obviously underperformed the last few years, and certainly stale Pat Shurmur was no star. He's a very good coordinator, I believe, but is not a head coach, and he's a great guy. So what are your thoughts with the Giants? Let's just talk about Joe Judge. Is he going to change the culture of the team?
I'm very, very excited about Coach Judge coming into New York. I think that he's going to bring a toughness that the Giants have really lacked. He gives you an identity of running the football, professionalism. He also, being a special teams coach, is going to be able to be around different parts of the game, be around different parts of the football. So he will be able to coach every single player and oversee. He's an overseer. He's a CEO. Those are my favorite style of coaches. You look at Saban and Belichick. We're both kind of the same way. We haven't seen anything on the field yet. But I am very optimistic about Joe Judge, his kind of militant style. I think that it's going to mold very well for the New York Giants.
There's also a news flash here. Jason Pierre-Paul has signed a 2-year deal with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's really good for him. He had a catastrophic career-threatening injury where he basically blew off part of his index finger and was able to come back and play quite well. And this is really a success for a guy who ran into a great physical challenge. And I think he's a character guy, and I think we're fans of him.
I'm definitely a fan. He's a world champion. He had that unfortunate incident, but he's played really well since then. His home is in Florida, in the Tampa area, and I'm really happy. I mean, $13 million for 2 years, tremendous deal. Or $13 million each year, 27 total. I think that it's a great deal for Jason Pierre-Paul, and I'm just very excited about this free agency. A lot of Giants fans, if Dave Gettleman doesn't get Jadeveon Clowney, they're going to be disappointed. The Giants are also in the market for a linebacker like a Blake Martinez, who I think could really be good with a Ryan Connolly, and then I think it would unlock you to draft either a pass rusher or an offensive tackle with pick 4 and have flexibility to move. I think the Eagles are going to get their wide receiver. I think that the Hargrave signing with Fletcher Cox is going to help Brandon Graham. It's going to help this defensive line. I still think that the Eagles, I don't know if the Eagles would ever sign Clowney. Do they have that kind of money to sign Clowney?
Well, they're clearing out. They're clearing out a lot of their cap space. A lot of Eagles fans felt that they should have signed Clowney last year. They might have, won that playoff game. And there's a lot of big Clowney fans here in this town, although Clowney was the guy who put the big hit on Wentz and knocked him out of the game and caused the concussion. And so a lot of Eagles fans thought that was a dirty play. He should have been suspended. So I think if Clowney were to be signed by the Eagles, I think we would change. When I say we, I mean Philly would change its tune. They'd be very happy to have him, much like you would.
Yeah.
There's two divergent topics I want to throw at you here.
Sure.
Outside of NFL football, rumor mill percolating through the NBA is the NBA may get started in June. They may actually be a summer league, and why would that be good? Because they'd be able to compete with you guys in baseball, and they'd be able to do their playoffs, their NBA playoffs at the end of the summer. And a lot of people, including myself, would welcome the return of the NBA. So we get a break from baseball in the middle of the summer. And another hot rumor is that the Masters might be played in very early September, right before the NFL season, and it would be different. The Masters has not been played outside of April since 1918. That's an interesting stat, but everybody loves the Masters, and it's clear that everybody would love to see them come back. And maybe, as you know, Augusta National is closed all summer. But if they were to just get it in great shape, and they can make miracles there. They can do anything in Augusta.
Yeah.
The best course, the best grounds crew in the world. And to see the Masters in early September as a nice little appetizer for NFL season. What are your thoughts there, Spence?
Be amazing. Be absolutely phenomenal to play golf in September like that, Bruce, or in late August. That to have Augusta there would be the most unique Masters in the history of that tournament. Maybe. I know you had Tiger Woods winning last year, which was one of the coolest sporting events ever. And just the fact that you'd have the Masters on as the last major, I think some people might even enjoy that more than April, but it's never going to get changed. It's never going to get changed. What?
I'm
Bruce?
just putting it one thing. We've got some very cool people on our podcast right now, including Lee Steinberg. Lee Steinberg is the agent for Patrick Mahomes.
You're right.
Great
He's
guy.
Live right now. He's live on Facebook.
Yes, that's right. And we have a lot of people, Richard Rutenberg, who actually designed the logo for this hat. Well, didn't design it. He actually made the hat, which is even better. A great guy, a lot of talent, and just a lot of nice people. Just crazy to talk sports here at the time of this coronavirus. So I really think, do you want to just close up with a few
I want
topics?
Masters to start. I'm a little worried about the NFL because I'm worried that you won't be able to congregate large groups of people still until the vaccine is created. But I'm knocking on wood that everybody stays safe and that we could get a vaccine in as soon as possible, hopefully in the next couple of months, so that we're then able to test and we're able to get the vaccine to people so that we could start having crowds again and we could start living our life, because until then, it's going to be hard to have large groups of people gather around. And for football specifically, if they don't have fans, it's going to be very doubtful that the season is played, even with no fans. That's a sport that needs fans.
Well, the question is, and again, this is a question nobody really knows, when is this curve going to flatten? When is this disease going to start fading out? It's going to happen before the virus is available. And obviously testing, once they start testing for people, you'll see the numbers rising. And everybody, it's very important here from a public health standpoint to be safe, to spend time at home, to not take any risks. Our practice is taken off at least a week at Grosinger Neuropain Specialists. We're figuring out all kinds of ways to possibly restart. We are technically essential services because we deal with people with severe injuries and pain and sickness, but we're tossing around a few things for all the patients out there, including essentially having your car will be our waiting room and have you come in and go right into a room and get your service and leave. So that's something that could happen.
Yep. I want to thank Mizrahi also. He says the Jets are losers today.
I don't know if they did anything.
Losers every single day.
Did the Jets make any moves? I didn't hear their name.
They signed George Fant, who's basically been an offensive lineman for the Seahawks for a long time. And I always envisioned Russell running around there wild. I've never heard about Seattle having expert offensive line play. I also want to welcome in my friend BVD. BVD is a guy that's out in Tennessee. He's a huge Vol fan. He has a great YouTube channel right now.
BVD's
Vols
a great
TV.
Name, great underwear. We love BVDs.
I don't know. Maybe that's a classic reference that I don't really
Very
understand.
Classic. Before your time.
Maybe
Before
BVD
your time.
knows
yes,
about
of course.
That, but he's joining the show. He says the Masters is going to miss us.
Is he a Cardinals fan?
You're actually right. Yes, he's a Cardinals and a Tennessee Volunteers fan.
So he must be thrilled at the acquisition of DeAndre Hopkins.
Yes,
what do you think, BVD?
In fact, he is.
Of course.
He just got it right. He got it right. He said that exactly. He said that Hopkins is there. You have Kyler Murray, an exciting young quarterback. You have Cliff Kingsbury there, Vance Joseph. Now they got to beef up that defense, and it's looking like an offensive tackle is in order.
So the Cardinals are on the way up. A big Tennessee Vols
number
fan.
7.
One of our best
number 8
experiences is going to Knoxville. And despite the fact that they played Alabama, the tailgating in Knoxville, the people, the atmosphere, the stadium is classic.
Neyland
We're
situation.
big Tennessee we're SEC fans, but we're Tennessee Vols fans as well as many others.
Absolutely. So, guys, I want to thank you. I want to thank you, Bruce, and I want to thank everybody here on YouTube and everybody that is out there listening and watching the show for consuming Rover Sports. And I'm sure that tomorrow we might even have a lot more juice.
Well, this is great.
We have just day one.
We have NFL Hot Stove. This is the illegal tampering. So legal and tampering is like jumbo shrimp. It's an oxymoron. But we have so many people. We've had a solid 40 people on all the platforms. I want to thank everybody at Bruce Grosiger Facebook. This is a national show, so some of the Grosiger Facebook people are used to hearing all Eagles talk, and I'm glad you put up with this national talk today. But it's just great to be talking NFL football. Great to be working with you, Spencer G. And as always, when we sign up, we always say good night and good sports.